Hello everybody, welcome to 2026 and welcome to my 2026 planning and goals video. I'm currently filming this on New Year's Eve, so if you hear bangs in the background, just know it's because some people are getting trigger happy and shooting their fireworks before it's midnight. I'm not gonna start talking about fireworks because I have thoughts. But anyway, we're gonna get straight into my plans, my goals, my things for 2026. So I have my little planner in front of me where I, for the past 3 years, I think, have been tracking my reading and series and stuff. So just to give you a quick rundown, last year I read 15 books, not very many, watched 82 films, 26 series, 12 documentaries and 22 short films. You can tell that I did a lot more watching last year than reading. And this year I'm hoping to kind of remain on that trend. I mean, I feel like I will just always naturally watch more things than I read because it takes way less time to watch a film than it does to read a whole book, depending on the length of the book, obviously. But you know, 2-hour film versus maybe the 10 hours it would take to read a book. I will overlay some nice B-roll clips of my planner because right now I can't show you. This just looks like a mess, you know? I can't show it to you in front of my face. So I will overlay some beautiful B-roll clips. On the first page, on the cover page, on the title page, you can tell that I was inspired by vintage frames and typography and stuff. So I have a little title that says Books and Films 2026. There's a picture of a lady reading a book, vintage style, and then a little frame with my reading goals in it. My reading goals for next year, I have specifically 4 goals. And technically 2 of those goals are like bigger goals within, or like several goals within one, if you will. But I didn't write these in the order that I'm going to tell you about them. So my first goal is going to be to read my physical TBR, meaning to read the books that I already own, so that I can look at my bookshelf and be like, wow, I've read those books, and not say, wow, I still need to read those books. So that's my first goal. My second goal is going to help me on this journey, because my second goal is to buy 10 or less books next year, or this year, sorry. It's a little bit meta for me to have to talk in circles. So I want to buy 10 or less books in 2026. That's a big goal, because last year, I should actually count, I will put a number on screen, but last year I bought this many books, so to go down to 10 or less books is going to be a little bit difficult, but maybe also not really, because most of the books that I bought last year anyway were for the challenges that I've set for myself this year. So we'll see how it goes. I counted yesterday, and 5 of the books that I'm going to be buying, out of the 10 that I'm allowed, are going to be books that I still need for the next challenge that I'm about to tell you about. So, this year, I have called my challenge an A to Z of classics. So, I've decided that I'm going to read a book by an author whose surname starts with a letter of every letter of the alphabet. So from A to Z, an author whose surname starts with every letter. For instance, for A, I have Jane Austen. For B, I have Anne Bronte. For C, I have I almost said Alexandra. No, Agatha Christie. For D, I have Alexandre Dumas, and so on and so forth. So, for every letter of the alphabet except Q, I couldn't find anybody whose surname starts with Q. So for Q, I rewrote the rules a little bit and chose a book whose title starts with a letter Q. but for every other letter of the alphabet, that's right, even X, I have a person whose surname or slash name for X specifically, but everybody else's surname starts with the letter of the alphabet. So 26 books in total. I still need 5 of them. I already own or have purchased all of the other books already. 4 of those books, I'm still waiting for them to be delivered to me. I'm really hoping they're going to be delivered at some point in January. That's what the bookshop told me, at least my online order said. But all of them are on back order, essentially. All of them need to be imported from probably England, from all of these publishers. And so I'm really hoping they actually do arrive. Otherwise, I'm going to have to find them somewhere else. Otherwise, I'm probably just going to give up on myself and buy them as ebooks. Goal number 4 is to start a kind of a reading challenge / group. Not a book club, not a book club. Even though technically, when I explain it to you, it will sound like a book club, but it's not really a book club. So I'm calling it Around the World in 80 Books. Essentially, 80 books from different countries around the world. I'm busy compiling a list of 80 books each from a different country around the world that I'm going to make known to the world, aka you people watching my videos on the internet. I'm going to make this, once I've compiled the complete list, I'm going to release it to the world, and then we're going to read these books together, but not in book club style where each month we have to read the same book. No, this is kind of just a curriculum reading list kind of situation, if you will, where I'm going to prescribe you the books that you read, and then you can pick whichever one of them you want to read first and just slowly make your way through the list over however long it takes you. Because also, I won't be reading all 80 of these books this year. I'm only going to start this challenge specifically probably halfway through the year. That's what I have set in my mind. Because I still need to finish compiling the list, because there are several sources that I'm looking at for these books. But the thing is, I'm being very stringent with myself, which is what is making it more difficult. I want specifically a book by an author from a certain country where the book is also set in that certain country. So for instance, I saw a book that really piqued my interest at the bookshop. It was Anita Desai's newest book, Rosa Rita. Now, Anita Desai is an Indian author, but Rosa Rita is set in Mexico. So it doesn't work for my Around the World in 80 Books challenge, because it's by an Indian author, but it's set in Mexico. So I want an Indian author whose book is set in India, and a Mexican author whose book is set in Mexico, if you catch my drift. So it's taking me a while to compile this list, also because there are many countries that I want to read books from where I have absolutely no prior knowledge of any writers, authors, books from those places. So I'm kind of looking through my sources on the internet and then going onto the story graph, typing in the book, reading the synopsis, and then typing in the author's name into Google to see where they're from. And then seeing if the book that they wrote is set in the place that they're from. Specifically, I have already run into one issue here with the author that I have for Ireland, because I own the book by this Irish author, but nowhere can I find out whether this book specifically is set in Ireland. So it's a complicated situation, and it's taking me a long time to compile this list. But once I have done that, probably halfway through this year, I will share it with you, and then you and me can... I love how I always say you and me. I always point at you when I'm saying me, and I point at myself when I'm saying you. So you and me are going to go on a trip around the world in 80 books. And yes, the title obviously is inspired by Jules Verne's book Around the World in 80 Days. Now, I'm thinking, I'm hoping that I'll start this challenge this year and read a few of the books in 6 months' time. Maybe half of them. I'm kidding. I'm joking. No, there's no way I'm reading 40 books in 6 months. Not a chance. But I would like to read a good chunk of them. I'm gonna get into that challenge this year. I hope you'll come along with me for the ride. I'm not quite sure how we're gonna communicate with each other about these books, whether or not we actually will. Tell me if you would like to do something like that. If you would like me to structure it more sort of like a book. I almost said a bookshop. My light also has died again. I hate it. Something is wrong with the connection of this light and it keeps switching itself off. And it's very annoying. But anyway, let me know if you, like specifically I know that there are people who use Fable for their book clubs. I am part of a book club that uses Fable. I never go onto Fable and look at what the book club is doing, except to see every month what book they're reading. And I also don't know how that would work if we're not all reading the same book at the same time. But let me know if you would like a specific place, like a community where we could all talk about this kind of thing. For instance, please don't say Discord because I don't do Discord, but something like a Discord server or something like a Patreon page or a Substack. I'm thinking of starting a Substack anyway, just to document my thoughts about these Around the World in 80 books specifically. So whether or not you want to join me on there, it will be free. I'm not going to ask people to pay me for my Substack. Patreon always feels a little bit different in terms of charging for Patreon because usually it's bonus content and it will be videos and more in-depth discussions and stuff that will take more of my time to make. So it feels more, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like it feels like I would not feel bad to charge money for it. I still would feel bad. I still would feel a bit weird. But let me know what your preferred method of communication would be about these Around the World in 80 books things. So yes, I feel like I've been talking about that challenge for a really long time, and most of what I'm saying now I will also repeat in the video talking specifically about that. But mostly I just would like your feedback about whether you would like to participate in this challenge, and then specifically if you want a sort of way to discuss with other people and with me about the books that are on this list when we get around to reading them, each on our own separate timelines, doing whatever we want when reading, reading whichever book we want, as and when we feel like it. And then thirdly, my third question about that is, where would be the best place for you to find this community? I'm leaning mostly towards Substack because I feel like that would be the best place for me to compile my thoughts on these books, but that would probably also then turn more into something like a blog versus a community discussion place. I also don't really exactly know how Substack works yet, so I'm gonna have to figure all these things out in behind the scenes, but I want to have your feedback. I want to know what your ideas would be, because maybe you guys somebody has the perfect solution to what I'm looking for. So please tell me what your opinions are. Let me know your thoughts. Without further ado, let us continue on with my reading planner thingy, even though it's kind of void, useless, null now, because I've talked about everything already basically. But on this page I have, I didn't actually show you. I made like a little page with picture frames with an A to Z of classics title, and I'm gonna write the title of all of the books in each of these little picture frames as I go along. Then on the next page I just have my basic reading tracker for all the books I shall be reading next year. It goes all the way down to 44 books. Whether or not I will actually read 44 books is a good question. But if I'm already reading 26 books just by reading the classics things, and by reading my Around the World in 80 books, I'll probably be reading, at the very least, 5 more books. That's already 31 books. And then throughout the year, I do also want to read just non-related books unrelated to these challenges. And specifically, there are a couple of books on my bookshelves that I'm really excited to read soon. So, I don't know, maybe I will read 44 books. Maybe I'll read more than 44 books. That would be crazy. That would be a first for me. The most books I've ever read in a year is 37 books. So, we'll see how it goes. Then on this page, I have just Around the World in 80 books. No numbers, nothing yet, because this challenge is only starting later this year. And then on the next page, I just have very basically, the next 2 pages is a 2-page spread of my movie tracker. Because, as you heard, I watched 82 films in 2025. And at that, then I also already had a 2-page spread with 88 options, or 88 open slots. Here is my movie tracker for 2025. 88 seems like a good number for me to track my films. Then on the next spread, I have a series tracker with 2 columns for series, so technically 44 slots as well. I don't think I will be watching 44 series. I really hope not, because that's a lot of my time spent watching series. But last year I only had 1 column, so 22 slots, and I ended up writing like on the margins for the other like 4 more series that I had to add. And so I thought I would just leave myself a little bit of breathing space for more series. Then, on the last spread, I have 1 column for documentaries and 1 column for short films, both of which I have only numbered up until 10 for now, because, as you heard, I watched 12 documentaries and 22 short films, so I filled up a whole column with my short films that I watched. And I do kind of want to watch more short films this year, so we'll see where it goes. I can also then just flip to the next page, because the next page is blank, so I could continue short films on the next page if I wanted to. I do also want to watch more documentaries. I watched 12 in 2025, so I kind of want to up that to at least 15. Hopefully I'll fill a whole column. Maybe I will have watched 22 documentaries by the end of 2026. That would be nice. But that's my tracker. It's very basic. But I figured out over the last couple of years that basic works best for me. If I try and make anything too fancy and like force myself to have to do a lot of effort for any of these things, I immediately become disinterested. I immediately don't want to do it anymore. So, yes. There's the old tracker, and here is the new tracker. I must say, I'm very proud of myself for how beautifully these spreads turned out. Just so you know, this cover page spread, I'm not that cool. I did not think of all these design things myself. I genuinely traced this from a picture I found on Pinterest. And then I just added the picture of the lady in the middle, and I added the title things in there. But everything else I just traced the outlines of. Anyway, so there's my planner for 2026, my goals. Let me know if you have, where can I put this? Let me know if you have any reading goals for 2026. I would love to hear what they are. I would love to know what people are aspiring to reading. What if maybe you've decided this year, no reading goals. That's what I did last year. It didn't work out that well for me because I didn't end up reading very much. So I feel like I am a goals-driven person. Obviously, I think we all are. But some people, when they don't set goals, they end up reading more. And some people just read the same amount. So let me know if you have goals. If you do have goals, what are they? And Let me know your thoughts on the Around the World in 80 Books situation. Give me your answers to the questions that I have asked. I will also leave a comment, a pinned comment, with just maybe a more concise version of my questions that I'm asking you to answer in the comments. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope you come along for this 2026 journey of books and madness.